Imagine you are standing at the edge of a deep dark forest and you can feel a cold wind blowing from the trees. You do not know what is inside the woods, but you have a map in your pocket that belonged to your grandfather. The map shows the same paths he walked many years ago. Even though the trees have grown and the world has changed, the shape of the land stays the same. Today we often feel that we are walking into a very dark and uncertain future. We hear news about conflict and we feel a heavy weight in our hearts. We wonder if we are moving toward a global disaster that we cannot stop. To understand where we are going, we have to look back at where we have been. We are not just looking for stories or old dates. We are looking for the hidden physics of human behavior. We are looking for the ways that societies break and the ways that fear takes over. It is like watching the sky before a big storm. If you know what the clouds look like, you can prepare yourself before the first drop of rain falls. When we think about the world today, we often think that technology is the answer to all our problems. We see new tools and we think they will make life easier and better for everyone. But there is a deeper truth that we often miss. Every time we create a massive leap in technology, we also create a massive wave of fear. Think about the first time people saw a car moving without a horse. It was amazing, but it was also terrifying for the people who took care of horses for a living. Today we have computers that can think and talk. This is exciting, but it also makes people feel very small and very replaceable. This feeling of being left behind is like a dry field waiting for a match. When people feel that their way of life is disappearing, they start to look for someone to blame. They look for simple answers to very complex problems. This social anxiety is a quiet force that slowly pulls at the threads of our peace. It is not just about the machines themselves. It is about how we feel about our place in the world when the world changes faster than we can adapt. We often assume that money will keep us safe. We tell ourselves that because the world is so connected by trade, no one would be foolish enough to start a war. We think that if our bank accounts are tied together, our hands will stay at our sides. We assume that leaders are rational and that they only care about wealth. But this is a dangerous assumption. History shows us that human beings care about more than just money. We care about pride. We care about being stronger than our neighbors. We care about who has the most power in the room. Even when a war makes no financial sense, it can still happen because of fear or a desire to be on top. Think about two people who are arguing over a small prize. Even if they break a window that costs more than the prize, they might keep fighting just because they do not want to lose. This is how nations behave. They would rather be poor and powerful than rich and weak. This shift from wanting to be wealthy to wanting to be more powerful than a rival is a very dangerous turning point. It is a structural pattern that shows up again and again. When nations stop trying to grow together and start trying to pull apart, it is a sign that the ground is shifting beneath us. This pattern of pulling apart is what we call polarization. It starts with small arguments at the dinner table or on the internet. But slowly those small gaps grow into giant canyons. We stop seeing the other side as people with different ideas and we start seeing them as enemies who want to destroy us. This is when the danger becomes real. When words stop working, people start looking for other ways to settle their disagreements. We see this in our own communities when we cannot even talk to a neighbor because of a political sign in their yard. This division is like a crack in the foundation of a house. If the crack gets too big, the whole roof can come crashing down. We must realize that polarization is not just a disagreement. It is a collapse of the rules that allow us to live together in peace. If we cannot trust the system to solve our problems, we will try to solve them with force. This is a pattern that has repeated itself many times and it always leads to a dark place. We can reframe this by looking at how alliances work. A fire in a small kitchen is a problem, but it only becomes a disaster if the whole neighborhood is made of wood. Alliances are the wood that connects us. In the past, local fights became world wars because everyone was connected by a promise to fight. Today we see the same thing happening. Small conflicts in different parts of the world are being linked together by groups of nations. Some of these groups are becoming very tight and very organized, while others are becoming weak and divided. This imbalance of power is like a seesaw that is tilted too far to one side. When the people who want to start trouble feel that their friends are strong and their enemies are weak, they are much more likely to take a risk. It is the connection between these separate fires that creates the giant flame. We often think that global events are far away and have nothing to do with our daily lives. But the patterns of history are reflected in how we treat each other every single day. The same fear that leads to a trade war is the same fear that makes us suspicious of a stranger. The same desire for power that leads to a military conflict is the same desire that makes us want to win an argument at any cost. We can apply these lessons by choosing a different path in our own lives. We can choose to look for common ground instead of building walls. We can choose to use our technology to build bridges instead of spreading anger. We can realize that being right is not as important as being at peace. If we want to change the direction of the world, we have to start by changing the direction of our own hearts. We have to be aware of the rhymes of history. If we hear the same sounds of fear and division that our grandfathers heard, we must be the ones to change the song. It is not an easy task, but it is the most important work we can do. We are not destined to repeat the past. We have the power to learn from the map and choose a safer road. We can see the warning signs and decide to walk a different way. This requires us to be calm when everyone else is shouting. It requires us to be patient when everyone else is in a rush. It requires us to remember that we are all part of the same human family even when we disagree. The forest ahead of us does not have to be dark if we carry a light for each other. We must pay attention to the small trends and the quiet changes in our society. By understanding these patterns, we can stop a global crisis before it begins. We can build a world where we value connection over competition and understanding over power. It is a slow process, but it is the only way to ensure a bright future for those who come after us. If you could see the hidden patterns of history moving in your own community today, what would you do differently to help keep the peace?